Winter should not have become the Winter Maiden. Nora should have. Volume 8 is rife with problems, but the one that bothers me most, at least at the moment, is Winter becoming the Maiden. For all of Volume 8, Winter and Penny never interact even once, or think of each other. Nor does Winter struggle with her mission of, killing Penny to take the power. We never know if she's gung-ho about that mission or hesitant. Instead, Winter keeps getting sidetracked, whether it's arresting Yang's group or fighting the big dumb whale, or bombs that ironically hold the power to destroy any climax. Go ahead, make your jokes, because they're probably more satisfying an ending than Volume 8's finale. And on that note, the finale is filled with baffling choices like RWBY falling in the middle of everyone despite being the title character, or Jean being the one to kill Penny despite never having a single significant moment with her prior, or even Penny being made human. That's not even touching on the fact that 3/4 of the title characters couldn't be bothered to encounter the big bad before she explodes 5 chapters before the actual finale? Okay, alright then. But the reason Winter becoming the Maiden instead of Nora bothers me boils down to one thing. The writers not understanding the organic character arcs in front of them. The whole volume, Nora struggles with standing on her own without Ren by her side, and she reflects on the codependent nature of their, let's be real, it's not even a relationship, it's a situationship. But Nora's need to find herself resonated with a lot of people, myself included. It's another case of the side characters getting compelling arcs that Team RWBY never gets to enjoy, but that's for another time. For that issue, I recommend Twins Inc.'s video, Who's Even the Main Character Anymore? But during this volume, Nora and Penny develop a cute little friendship that's unexpected but very welcome, as it's rooted in both Nora and Penny trying to find their own agency and senses of self in the wake of the world being on fire. Now, a big reason why I'm making this is because I couldn't get the idea to work in my Volume 8 rewrite. As much as I love the idea, it just isn't organic to the new structure that I created. As such, I figured I would give it a little shine in its own video. So we're going to explain in depth why Nora should have become the Winter Maiden, beginning with why Winter becoming the Winter Maiden, God, this is confusing, is pointless and adds nothing to the story. The reveal in Volume 7 that Winter is going to succeed Freya as the Winter Maiden is so clearly a red herring. For those who don't know, a red herring refers to a trope where you give the audience clues to guide their expectations one way with the intention of subverting or breaking those expectations later on. When Winter talked about the privilege of becoming the Winter Maiden, it screamed, "Oh, so she's not gonna be the Maiden. Someone else will get the power in a dramatic moment." And Volume 7's finale delivered on that promise, with Penny becoming the Maiden. As a Maiden, Winter would have just followed Ironwood's orders and helped him raise Atlas into space, no questions asked. She does seem to doubt Ironwood throughout Volume 8, but they don't actually do anything substantial with that until the double cross where she saves Marrow, which, dude, that came right after Harriet told Ironwood how Winter disobeyed orders and let Yang's group go into the Hell Whale. Why in the fuck is Ironwood still trusting Winter with anything if he's so paranoid? But Winter doesn't actually want the power for any real reason. Weiss talks about how Ironwood groomed Winter's military career for this purpose, and Winter admits that his plan did bother her at first, but she also talks about making it her own choice. And though that scene is powerful in explaining Winter's thought process, it also shows how far she's willing to go for Ironwood, the new authority figure she's replaced Jacques with. That's the fundamental difference between her and Weiss. Winter sought out a new authority figure to follow to replace her old one. Weiss grew past that need and is skeptical of any authority. This echoes the concept of characters struggling with their needs versus their wants, their exterior goals versus what they actually need internally to grow as people. For Winter, her want is to follow Ironwood's orders, help him achieve his goals, and do so by using the power of the Winter Maiden. But her need, at least extrapolated from what we've been given, is to realize her need for an authority figure in the first place, why she gravitated towards Ironwood to replace Jacques, and to either move past that or to take a more active role in deciding who is worthy of her trust and support. Winter becoming a Maiden doesn't add anything of value to her story. My friend Maxwell Media Inc. loves this choice for Winter, because his perspective is that Winter wasn't ready for the power of the Maiden at the end of Volume 7, but she's grown enough to be worthy at the end of Volume 8. And though I do respect that perspective, I don't agree with that applied to what we've been given. Had this been written differently, maybe I would agree. I can definitely see a potential AU where this does work and is interesting to follow. But with what we have, Winter didn't really have any substantial growth over the course of Volume 8, aside from, oh dear god, what did I do? If anything, Winter has been unraveling ever since Ironwood went to Crazy Town and became a bigger villain than Salem ever fucking was. Side note, damn, this show really doesn't know what morally gray means. Like, first Oz is morally gray because he lies sometimes for totally understandable reasons, and now Ironwood is morally gray as he murders councilmen in broad daylight for talking too loud, and bombs the poorest for funsies. But Winter is seeing that she's lost respect and trust in Ironwood as an authority figure, which should throw into question why she ever wanted the Maiden power in the first place. Winter being set adrift with no clear way forward would be so interesting to see. Losing Ironwood, Jacques, and Weiss all in the same day, losing any sense of purpose in her function of serving the General of Atlas, losing her kingdom, and even losing the chance to become the Winter Maiden to give some meaning to it all. Winter would hit rock bottom, and that could force her to question her actions up until this point, and facilitate true change as she reconnects with her mother and brother in Vacuo. You could argue she could do that as a maiden, but by giving her the maiden powers at all, you're essentially giving her what she wanted without making her go through the steps to realize what her need is. She doesn't need to struggle with the sense of aimlessness and loss. And while this could be done well in making her question why she wanted these powers, it's not worth everything that was sacrificed to make it happen. I'm imagining her pulling an Elsa, singing Let It Go, and just fucking off to the middle of Vacuo and making an ice palace in the middle of the desert. If that happens, I'm gonna laugh my ass off. And to add more salt to the wound, the fact Penny and Winter have no scenes together before this happens makes this feel even more contrived. Like, the writers want Winter to become the Maiden, so they warped character motivations, actions, and thought processes to reach that endpoint. It's like when you have an outline, but then you realize your story kind of organically went in a different direction, and so instead of course correcting, you just force it back to fit the outline, and it does not work. Back in Volume 7, the two of them did have a handful of interesting scenes together, where Winter accidentally revealed that she doesn't view Penny as a full person, and she made Penny think about what it is she wants versus what Ironwood wants, but those things alone don't explain why Penny would have chosen Winter. And I know a lot of people see a deep friendship between them because, they've known each other since the fall of Beacon after Penny came back. And I admit, I like the idea too. However, we're working with what we see on screen, and what's on screen just isn't enough. All the on-screen interactions between Penny and Winter, all they're really good for is Penny deciding to take on the burden of the Winter Maiden, and then telling Ironwood to go fuck himself. But they don't explain why Penny would think Winter would be the best fit for the power, and the last person in Penny's thoughts before she died. It would be like if you received this beautiful gift, but you had to decide who to give it to before you passed on. Who gets this thing in your will? And instead of a best friend who's been there by your side, championing you all along, you decide to give it to that one random coworker you had who said one accidentally inspiring thing off the cuff, whom you haven't spoken to or thought about since, who was also charged with bringing you in, possibly for embezzling funds. All through Volume 7, Nora is the most vocal on trusting Robin and helping the people of Mantle. Chapter 2, she says the people of Mantle are hurting. Chapter 6, she's imploring Ironwood to reach out to Robin and is excited about going to her rally on election night. Chapter 7, she calls out Ironwood for even thinking about declaring martial law and is sick of lying to everyone about Amity and Salem. Chapter 10, we see her on the ground interacting with frightened Mantle citizens and trying to calm them down, while everyone else is focused solely on subduing the Grimm. Everything here suggests Nora's story is about caring for the people of Mantle, far more than any of her friends bother to. Again, problems with side characters getting storylines Team RWBY should be getting, especially Blake, given the number of Faunas who live in Mantle. But the show forgot the White Fang exists, so for that problem I recommend my old White Fang video. But for right now, let's just focus on the fact that Nora is being set up to care about Mantle. She's also being given the cold shoulder by Ren, who she's been inseparable from and in love with since childhood. And though Ren is merely afraid of his own feelings, Nora doesn't know that. For all she knows, she loves Ren more than Ren loves her, if he even loves her at all. and Ren distancing himself is clearly taking a toll on her emotionally. Hell, he even screams at her when they lose the lamp when she tries to argue against Ren, saying they weren't ready to be huntsmen. So Volume 8 naturally splits them up. Yes, it's weird that Nora is going to help RWBY's team with the Amity plan while Ren is focused on evacuating Mantle, given Ren was so focused on the big picture Ironwood kept prattling on about in Volume 7, while Mantle remained Nora's priority. But again, problems for another time. At the very least, it meant Nora getting time to befriend Penny. It starts in Chapter 3, where Nora expresses her frustrations with Ren to Blake and Weiss, and they tell her to focus on herself and doing what only she can do, which then leads into Nora continuing to be the most iconic woman in the room, and the one who deserves to be the main character far more than red and black, blue and gray, and white, with a bit of purple. They foreshadow the friendship between Nora and Penny by having Nora be the one who's most anxious on getting outside to help Penny, and Penny rushing to check on Nora when she passes out. Penny even carries Nora into the hangar and lays her down in the airship, suggesting that Penny really cares for Nora and is concerned about her well-being. It already starts connecting Nora's storyline to Penny's, while one of them isn't even conscious. Penny's apology for what's happened to Nora especially ties a neat little ribbon on this. When Nora awakens in the manor, both she and Penny are in the sick bay, as Judgmental Critter and twins call it. When Penny struggles with fighting off the virus, Nora holds her hand and tells her,
"It's just a part of you. Don't forget about the rest."
A direct quote from what Blake told her. Nora is using what she's trying to learn to help Penny through her struggle, and they're literally sitting in the dark together as the Hound wrecks everyone's shit. When Ironwood makes his ultimatum, Nora's still in Weiss' room, and she looks nervously at an unconscious Penny. This suggests Nora specifically has a significant connection to Penny that'll be paid off in some way later, be it Maiden succession, or just somehow supporting her later on. And in a way, it does get paid off when Penny tries to flee the manor.
"I cannot fight it!" "Yes, you can! It's just a part of you, remember? If you were only a machine, you never could have fought back for this long."
Followed by one of the most precious hugs ever. Ginger solidarity. It's so clear that Nora and Penny share a strong connection. Though it only started in Volume 8, it already carries a decent weight for their stories. And honestly, Penny seems a lot closer to Nora in Volume 8 than she even does with RWBY, given RWBY's too busy sipping tea in a fancy manner and standing around waiting to get mauled by hellhounds. And Penny definitely feels closer to Nora here than she ever did to Winter. Even the editing choices in the finale echo this, with Nora being the one who wants to join the fight, like this shot early in Chapter 14, where Nora looks as Penny and Weiss try to outrun Cinder, and Jean has to tell her to focus on the evacuation. Or in Chapter 13, this shot frames Nora as the main focus, and when she runs off, Cinder enters the frame. That suggests Nora has an importance to what's about to happen. At least that's what the framing tells your brain, because in reality I doubt very much thought went into this aside from, yeah, Nora can fly away while Cinder smirks. And then when Jean tells Nora to get help through the portal, that doesn't even make sense. You'd think it would be Nora who goes off to help the others, because she's been the one itching to fight Cinder and protect Penny the whole time. Not to mention, Nora's a stronger combatant than Jean, and she can clear more distance quicker given she can suddenly fly on Magenhild. She'd probably fly off to fight Cinder once everyone was through the door before Jean could even say anything to her. That would also eliminate the weird "there's no time" thing when Penny says Jean should stop healing her and kill her, cause dude, he's a healer. Calm down. Even the fact it was Jean to kill Penny, again, makes no sense, because Jean has no established connection to Penny. There's no emotional payoff here. It should have been Nora, or RWBY, or literally anyone who's had an emotional moment with Penny beforehand who's routinely been with her. When I say Jean stole the spotlight yet again, this is why. There was no reason for Jean to have killed Penny, and it adds nothing to the story aside from more needless Jean angst. I thought we were done with this when he mourned Pyrrha in Volume 6, but I guess we always need more of it. And when you think about it, Nora getting trapped in whatever the hell the beach is would be more interesting than Jean. It forces a potentially long separation between her and Ren, and whatever awaits the girls in what I assume is some alternate dimension. It could be used to build on Nora's desire to find herself and stand on her own. There's also the fact that Nora becoming the Maiden connects her to previous threads, like Pyrrha wanting to become the Fall Maiden, only to lose the power and be murdered by Cinder shortly thereafter. By becoming the Winter Maiden, Nora is, in a way, honoring the last wishes of her fallen friend and avenging her by going after Cinder. Not to mention, in terms of fights, it could make Nora's fighting style so much more interesting by giving her access to magic. Maiden magic is still boring, given they all have the same elemental powers, yes, as I mentioned in my The Four Maidens Represent Nothing video, but at least this way Nora would wield all the pink lightning her heart desires to fuel her semblance whenever she wants. You know when Thor goes full God of Thunder mode in Thor Ragnarok? Imagine that, but pink, and you get Winter Maiden Nora, accompanied by a sweeping orchestral version of the boop melody. It's everything. Even the whole Asgard is not a place, but a people, with Nora as the protector of Mantle's people, even as the city is destroyed. It works on 2 levels, Lillian! Now, with all my arguments about why this would be fire said, we're going to work a little rewrite magic. The last section will be a rewrite of the finale to integrate Nora gaining the Winter Maiden power, so strap yourselves in, fam, we're in for a ride. So going into this, we're not going to bother trying to adjust all the other problems with the rest of the volume because, well, for one, we'll be here all day. But also, doing that resulted in my Volume 8 rewrite videos, so nah. We're going to be keeping everything from canon intact, for better or worse, except for one thing. We're not making Penny a real girl. She already is a real girl, and she proved that by getting the Maiden power in the first place. She's never expressed a desire to become a gross flesh person. And RWBY even said back in Volume 2,
"You think just because you've got nuts and bolts instead of squishy guts makes you any less real than me? You've got a heart. And a soul, I can feel it."
I'm not gonna bother with the specifics for this here, but I want to mention that Penny is going into the finale still a robot but virus-free, albeit weakened from the volume's events and slightly damaged. The fight, likewise, is mostly the same. We're not focusing on adjusting all the annoying subplots like Winter versus Ironwood, or a desert bat fight, or the goddamn bombing of an empty city nonsense, because I refuse to waste as much time as the end of Volume 8 did. That said, while Yang does fall first, from there the order is going to change along with who falls. When Blake moves to save RWBY, they don't both fall. Instead, Blake throws RWBY onto a platform while she falls, sacrificing herself and possibly mouthing, "They need you." Cinder's pissed. Oh, there's a thunderstorm while I'm recording. See, Nora is also pissed she didn't get to be a maiden. Nora has spoken. Cinder is pissed, but before she can attack RWBY again, Weiss shoots her with tears in her eyes using Gamble Shroud. When we cut to Jean and Nora, Nora tells Jean to get help because she's through waiting. And she jumps in to join RWBY, Weiss, and Penny against Cinder, where RWBY picks up the blade part of Gamble Shroud instead of Weiss, because Crescent Rose has fallen. Cinder senses Salem's return, sends out the fire to knock them back, then stabs Penny with the Grim Arm, only for Weiss to distract Cinder for a bit. RWBY tends to Penny while Nora says she's gonna head through the portal to get Jean so he can heal her. Penny tells RWBY there's not enough time. There's no way Jean will get back here before Cinder kills them all and takes the power. And she asks RWBY to kill her so that she can give her the power. RWBY cries, saying she can't do it. She can't do this to one of her best friends. And even if she could, she doesn't want the Maiden power. Penny pleads, saying that she'll always be with RWBY, even when she's gone, and that she already has another person in mind in that case. If RWBY honors Penny's wish, then Penny will honor RWBY's. Tears in her eyes, RWBY complies. Fuck that rhymed. Using Gamble Shroud to stab Penny as she cries out. We then cut to Nora, who's about to run through the door to Vacuo before everything goes white. She's confused, but sees Penny in the distance, with her human feet. It's here we see the human version of Penny, her soul, proving she's been human all along, as Allison RU suggested in the Volume 8 podcast she guest starred in with Twins Inc. and Judgmental Critter. Thank you, Allison! Nora realizes what this means, but Penny says it's okay. This is what she wanted. Through all this chaos, it was Nora who told Penny she was her own person, that she had agency, and the virus was just a part of who she was. Even her strength during their mission into the military compound showed Penny the kind of strength she always wanted to embody. Nora says she's just a clumsy oaf who's trying to find herself, to which Penny says, well, when you find her, you're going to be in awe of her just like I am now. Am I still crying from Sirs and Madams Boop 2? Yes. Yes, I am. If this is what Penny wants, Nora says yes. she would be honored to take on the responsibility as both the Winter Maiden and the protector of Mantle. We cut back to reality where Nora stops at the door, and echoing back to Penny opening her eyes as we cut between her and Oscar in Volume 7's finale, we cut between Nora opening her eyes and Cinder demanding RWBY where the power went. And guess what? Nora Maiden eyes are pink, bitches. Pink aura flames. Maybe with some pink electric sparks too. Nora rushes back to the fight and attacks Cinder, showing us just how powerful she truly is with pink lightning storms and blizzards. And maybe even recreating Penny's swords with various elements to honor her. Kinda like when Velvet used her semblance to mimic Penny's swords, but cooler. During this fight, Nora's voice echoes, "This is for Penny. This is for Pyrrha. This is for Blake and Yang. This is for everyone I love you've hurt." All the while, RWBY carries Weiss to the portal. Elsewhere, Winter has managed to outsmart Ironwood, strength will never bring victory, and rushes through the portal, witnessing the chaos and seeing an injured Weiss being carried by RWBY. The staff falls like before, but Cinder gets an idea when she spots Winter, and goes, "The people you love, huh? Who said I was done hurting them?" We get the whole explosion thing on the bridge just before RWBY and Weiss reach the door, where Weiss falls into the void while RWBY barely manages to hang on. Winter cries out for Weiss, but Nora can't make it in time, and Weiss vanishes. Everyone is in shock, and Cinder retrieves the staff and laughs her ass off. At Salem's scream, RWBY asserts they have to go, and Winter screams,
"You are going to pay for everything you've done."
Winter rushes through the door, as does Nora, but RWBY's aura being broken means she can't use her semblance. Maybe we can cheat the rules and have her glitch in and out of it as she tries, but it'll be even more painful as Nora screams out for RWBY as she goes through the door, and RWBY just barely misses it as it disappears and she falls into darkness. Nora cries at the door like we see in canon, but then she gets up, looks back angrily at the camera with the maiden eyes, blows back the grim, and goes to town. Originally, I wanted Nora to fall into wannabe Destiny Islands to find herself too in the spirit world, I guess. But the more I thought about it, the more I realized they'd need the Winter Maiden more in Vacuo, and it would be interesting to see what Nora's been up to when we finally get back to her. Plus, it means only Team RWBY is on the island with Neo. A chance for the main characters to actually be main characters. Unbelievable! And though I hate the thought of Penny dying again, we could go the extra mile of having Pietro sacrifice himself to bring Penny back one last time, giving up his life so his daughter can live, but this time without the burden of the maiden powers on her shoulders. Maybe RWBY could find her core when it, along with all their weapons, falls onto Destiny Islands, and she brings it back with her to Vacuo. I don't know, fam, but Penny deserved better. So, yeah. Winter Maiden Nora is everything, and we were fucking robbed. Low-key, this idea has been tumbling about the back of my mind for a while now, and that Boop 2 fan song I mentioned earlier actually sparked me wanting to make it into a full video. It's nice to have fun making RWBY videos again, even if the fandom is... yeah. In any case, I hope you all enjoyed, and if you love the way canon turned out, if you love Winter as the Winter Maiden, please know I'm not trying to take that away from you or saying that you're wrong for enjoying it. I just don't agree, and we should all be free to discuss our feelings without being called scum for it. In any case, if you did enjoy this video and would like to see more content like this from me, then be sure to subscribe and ring that bell for notifications because YouTube hates creators. And if you'd like to support myself and the channel, then you can pledge your support over on Patreon, as well as pre-order my upcoming debut urban fantasy novel, Deseneribus from the Ashes, over on Amazon or wherever else you get your books. I'm the Unicorn of War, and Winter Maiden Nora, when unleash the most glorious pink shit show the world has ever fucking seen.